Alright, what is going on, everybody? Quancredible here to bring you the review for Black Clover Chapter 267. And before I get into it, I apologize in advance if you can possibly hear a lawnmower in the background, because apparently at noon on Sunday is literally the only time anyone can ever cut grass in my neighborhood. Like, it seems like this is like the only moment that they can cut grass is at noon when the chapter drops for me. But hopefully you guys can't hear it or it's not that big of a deal. This chapter honestly is pretty hype. It's what a lot of the fandom has been waiting for, Asta to finally really interact with his anti-magic devil. They finally get to converse, like he's out, and they can really see and interact with each other. And it's really interesting because we finally get to see his design. And I never really thought about it, but I always just assumed he was that black figure that he always had appeared as. I never really thought about him having an actual face. But I guess if he followed the same like design guidelines as the grid, how he was mostly black, but then his head was, like we could actually see some details. I suppose that does make sense that he would actually have an actual face. I know a lot of people say he looks like Bakugo, which is kind of funny because they are definitely very similar. But I don't know. In my opinion, he just has really crazy spiky hair. I mean, there's lots of anime characters with really crazy spiky hair. So, like, I could see where people say that, but for me, he still kind of looks like his own thing. Now, the first interesting part about this chapter was that Asta, like the first thing, like the literal first thing he says to his devil is that he wants to thank him for helping him out. And I thought this was really interesting because out of all of the times we've seen this trope in shonen, like there being a monster, beast, demon, or whatever inside of the main character, they typically never thank them first. Like, it's always something else. They always have like some personal vendetta against them, or they want to control them for their power and all this other stuff. But it's like he right off the bat thanked them, which is really weird. Like, they definitely threw me for a minute. Like, it makes sense for Asta's character, but it threw me for a minute. And even the anti-magic devil's like, oh, I'm the guy who took your arm. I don't think you like fully understand the situation and things along those lines. And like Asta, he responded with, that was the deal, so I have no complaints. And like, it's just funny because this is like a really huge consequence. Like, Asta sacrificed his arm, but at least to him, his arm is gone. Like, it's no longer his arm, and he's okay with it. And it really, to me, reinforces Asta's character. Like, I know it's kind of weird because for a character like Asta, he's not necessarily. There's not really much room for him to grow in terms of becoming a better character. Like by that, he doesn't have any really big innate character flaws. Like, take for example, Ace. Ace from One Piece is a good example of a very blatant character flaw. He could never run away from a fight. Like he just would not leave. He would have to fight it out. That is a inherent written in character flaw that if he might have still been alive, he could possibly get over. But Asta doesn't really have a lot of those innate inherent character flaws. He's kind of like more or less probably how he's gonna be. So like moments like these that help reinforce the character and help us like really see who this character is, or like I just said, reinforce who he is. I think those are really cool. And also, I feel like in the story recently, we've been missing a lot of these Asta moments, so it was fun to see some of them in this chapter. Aside from that, we got Asta joking around about how short he actually is, which again, same to me, I thought he'd be really huge too. But then this is when the anti-magic really starts to actually attack, and he's able to command Asta's sword, and he's able to put like way more anti-magic power on it because the Demon Slayer sword looks way bigger than when Asta uses it. Which again, it makes sense. It is his actual sword, so it makes, or not his sword, but like it is his power, so it makes sense that he'd be able to command it much better than Asta. And like in this moment when like Asta's trying to like talk to him, Noctis like fight, like he's really reinforcing that he wants Asta to fight, and there's no other way to get stronger, and you need to do this, and you have to defeat him or you'll die. And it, like, just based on how Noct's character is, I don't take this at face value. I don't think that Asta actually has to fight him. Like of course he does have to fight him, but like what I mean, I don't necessarily think that this is supposed to be a straight up physical confrontation. I think Noct knows this. Like, I think as well as a a ritual, this is also like not testing Asta on top of it. That's just it's what it seems like. He seems too pushy on the idea that he wants him to fight him and defeat him. So I'm not completely buying it myself. That's just me. He could actually have to fight him, but for the most part, I don't believe it. It was also pretty funny to me that like Asta had just now realized this was like forbidden magic. Like I feel like most people would just pick up immediately that anything involving devils or demons should just be immediately forbidden. So when Asta's like, I don't know if this is something that like we should be doing, I did laugh at that part. But back into the actual fight, like when the anti-magic devil attacking him, Asta says that he's not really trying to kill him, which is really weird because from our perspective, it seems like he would have no reason to not want to kill him or not want to, you know, use his opportunity to take control of his body and things along those lines. Even going further to note that he is not like Zagrid, that he feels different. And I don't know if this is necessarily to note that maybe the anti-magic devil isn't like completely a devil, or is there something about him that is even special among other devils, which that it's probably more than likely that one is when we get to the end of the other chapter, where this is when Asta's like, just because you're a devil doesn't mean that you're a bad guy. And then it shows this clip of this woman who everyone on the internet is saying this is Asta's mom, whereas like I could see like it does look like Asta, so this person is most definitely related to Asta, but I'm not 100% sold on mom yet. I mean, it could be. I mean, it more than likely is, but I just how I am. When everyone says it's one thing, it just makes me feel like it might be something else. That's just me. But like we see through this that Asta's anti-magic devil knew his mother or had some type of memory of his mother, which makes you wonder what that relationship could have been. Could she have possibly known him in the past? Could the grimoire have belonged to her in the in-between time between like Licht and Asta? Could she have just met him while he was out in the world for whatever reason? Or like there's so many different ways that this could go, because we already know that like devils being in the human world is not a common thing. It's like rare. Like unless someone does some type of like a ritual or contract to draw them out, they typically are not in the human world. So it just begs the question of why they even know each other in the first place. I know a popular theory that I've seen is that he was a human that was turned into a devil, so that's why he's like that now. But me personally, I kind of feel like he was always like this. I don't know, my only things that I'm basing this off of is that he seemed to have knowledge of Zagrid and Lucifero, so that that's like the only reasons why. I know it's not a lot to go on, but I just feel like just because he knew them, it probably means he was probably a devil the entire time and not like a human or an elf or something along those lines. I know another popular theory is that it is also an elf just because the ears are pointed, but I mean demons and devils in fiction typically have pointed ears. I mean lots of creatures in fiction have pointed elves, not pointed elves, but they have pointed ears. So I mean that's like a common thing among like, you know, fictional creatures. So I don't want to just say it's an elf just off of the ears. I mean it's possible, but me personally I don't think so. I think that it was always the devil, and it possibly Asta's mom was the owner of the grimoire before Asta, if that makes sense. Just because we do know that like grimoires go into the tower and that other people can own them before you. That's just my personal theory. If it's true, you know, cool for me. If not, whatever. Let me know what you guys think down below. I am very curious. All in all, this chapter was pretty decent. I mean, with the reveal is hype, but nothing super crazy. I mean, just because the way the story was going, we were going to have to get to this point. So I give it like 8 out of 10. Like it was a pretty good chapter, honestly. The classic standard Tabata 15 pages, so you know it is what it is on that one. It looks like we're in a early chapter next week. It's coming out in 5 days, which is, you know, cool on that one. The only thing that worries me is I know a lot of times after we get like a 5 I know a lot of times after a chapter comes out in 5 days, it feels like we have a week break. So I guess we're just going to have to see for that on next week. But all in all, I don't have anything else for you guys. So make sure you guys like the videos, what's up to the channel. I know I'm saying it a lot just because I want the channel to grow as big as possible. I need you guys' help to do that. Outside of that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.